Welcome to the Bucket Plan on Demand, a podcast for financial advisors based on the best-selling book and process that simplifies financial planning. Hear from skilled industry professionals and special guests each episode that will help perfect your approach with clients and your results.
Good afternoon or good morning to everyone. Welcome to a Women's Clarity Forum. This week's topic is going to be about longevity and lifestyle planning for women clients. And we're so excited to have everyone back and joining us today for a meaningful conversation. Today's panel will discuss the evolving needs of women as they live longer, lead more dynamic lives, and seek financial strategies that support their goals beyond the numbers. As always, leading our discussion, we have our own Kirsten Schlumbohm. Kirsten is the Vice President and Head of Annuity Sales at C2P. Kirsten has been instrumental in pioneering a women's clarity, and as a mentor with 100 women in finance, she's passionate about helping others navigate and thrive in this space. And today we have two panelists joining us and leading our discussion. First, we have Ashley Ilardo. Ashley is the Regional Director and Vice President at Dimensional. Ashley leads the firm's largest client community, Women and Wealth, and brings deep experience in advancing inclusion and delivering exceptional client experiences. She is at the forefront of helping advisors tailor their approach to the real-life needs of women investors. Hello, Ashley. Welcome. We also have Tiya Stanley, Vice President of National Accounts at F&G. Tiya brings a rich and diverse background from working as an independent agent to leading national training and sales efforts. Her ability to connect insurance solutions with client-centered strategies makes her an invaluable voice of today's conversation. So, welcome to both of you. The purpose of a Woman's Clarity is to empower both women and men to better serve their clients and themselves by embracing planning that reflects the full picture of life, longevity, and legacy. And now I will turn it over to Kirsten.
Thank you, Des. It's always a pleasure to have you on and introducing such a fine group of people. Thank you, Ashley and Tiya, for joining us today. But first and foremost, to the advisors and the audience, thank you for giving us your time. I know that when you give us your time, you're not doing what you do best and love is being in front of your clients. So giving us your time is very valuable and important to us. So thank you for being here. I'm excited to have our two guests on today. I worked with Ashley with Dimensional. We did our conversation circles training as well as our podcast, which was just phenomenal, helping women connect with their journey with their retirement. And now Tiya and I have been friends. I was saying this before we all jumped on. I've known Tiya for 14 years. I know we look young in the Midwest. You get started driving a tractor, you can wholesale annuities when you're 14. Go figure. But we've worked together on a stage, and then we formed a band of women that we work together in the industry just to help share the narrative and how we can support more women, whether it's in a financial services seat or as a client. So thank you both for being here. It means, again, so much to have everyone here today. I'm going to go ahead and start out because longevity planning and lifestyle planning is so important to women. So my first question is going to go to Ashley. Ashley, why is longevity and lifestyle planning becoming an even more critical conversation for women today, particularly when we're looking at their investment models?
Thank you so much, Kirsten. And I'm so excited to be joining all of you. So thank you so much for the opportunity today. Many of the insights that we've gathered from the Women in Wealth community come from the thousands of advisors who are having conversations with us and with each other around what the unique needs are around women. And what we see is that women do have unique needs during retirement. So women tend to live longer. So if we look at some of the life expectancy, women on average outlive men by 5 years, but half of all widows over the age of 65 will outlive their husbands by an additional 15 years. And because women tend to live longer, women tend to face higher healthcare costs. We've been exploring this concept in the community with the advisors around the health span lifespan gap. So what that is the amount of years towards the end of your life that you tend to spend in lesser health. So when you look at that lifespan, health span gap across both genders, you see that on average, that gap's about 12.4 years for both. But I find it particularly interesting when you start to dive in and look at it specifically around men and women. So that lifespan health span gap for men is 11.08 years. For women, it's 13.73 years. So a difference of 2.65 years more for women. So what does this actually mean? Women tend to need long-term care longer than men as well. So on average, 3.7 years versus 2.2 years for men. So all of this boils down to the fact that women tend to need more money during retirement. But on the flip side of our lives, we also tend to face hurdles that impact our ability to save and grow our wealth throughout our life. So of course, there's this pesky gender pay gap that exists. But what we also see and hear from the advisor community is that women tend to take more career breaks, either to care for children, aging parents, maybe even both at the same time. And anecdotally from the community, we hear that women tend to hold higher balances in cash and fixed income compared to men, which of course can hinder returns over time. So those are some of the tangible needs that we're seeing advisors really plan for. And the reason why longevity is so important, because she needs to have the resources around that longer lifespan, around these increased healthcare needs, to think about some of the trade-offs that she's going to manage throughout her life. But we also see that having an understanding of what the money is for allows, of course, that client to live a fulfilling life and remain invested over the long run as well. So those are some of the themes that we're seeing in our Women in Wealth community.
Thank you, Ashley. That's so important. And just hearing the numbers, I'm a nerd for the word when it comes to statistics. So it just like, again, I know this, but when I hear it again, I'm still in shock and awe that we're missing this gap with women. And before I ask Tiya her questions, please, if you have any questions in the audience, raise your hand, unmute yourself, throw it in chat. We want this to be beneficial for you. So if you've got questions, please don't be shy and ask them. One person I know who is not shy is Miss Tiya. So Tiya, one thing we do with our bucket planning approach, we do ask our clients, what portion of your retirement dollars do you want guaranteed? I mean, of course, they're always going to say 100%. That's not necessarily feasible. But being in the insurance carrier side, Tiya, how do women's long life expectancies impact the way we should approach the insurance or the income gap planning for our female clients?
I think for me, I don't have a statistic on this one, Kirsten, but I do have just a saying, and that's more is more. With us living longer, that's going to mean that we're going to need more when it comes to retirement planning, when it comes to how we're building that. And also, too, it's going to take longer for us to complete it, meaning different considerations. For example, when it comes to saving for retirement, that funding, we should be doing that sooner than later because we know we're going to be living longer. We know that there's going to be increased healthcare costs. We know that when it comes to like estate and legacy planning, we're going to go ahead and need to not only lock that down for our plan, but if we're in a relationship, or if there's different considerations like that as well. It's like if we know that we're going to be living longer and that we're in a relationship and we're going to want to make sure that that legacy planning, that life insurance, that's up to date with exactly where that needs to be. But for me, the thing that I want to point out here is the consideration on inflation. So all the things that I've just stated before when it comes to retirement planning, are we ready? Are we funding that appropriately? Are we funding that early because we know we're going to live longer? Let's talk about inflation here. And I'm going to give you just a very quick story on something that I experienced. I even think this was the last year, but I'm a big juicer. And I go to the grocery store and I'm like, I'm going to get some watermelon and some mint. And I'm just going to create this amazing mint watermelon juice. And do you want to know how much a watermelon cost when I went to the grocery store? Ladies, $16 for a watermelon. What? There's no way that that can be accurate, but it was. I actually talked to the grocery store manager and I'm like, is this actually accurate or is there something incorrect in the system? And he's like, no, this is accurate. So I would say over the past few years, we've seen some wild things happen with inflation. for me, when it comes to retirement planning, with living longer, and with the things that are already on our radar, that I think the consideration for inflation, when it comes to not just healthcare costs and different things like that, but it's wild to think, can I afford a carton of eggs when I'm on a fixed retirement when it comes to recording, or when it comes to retirement. So for me, it's like that'll be probably one of the biggest parts of the consideration that you'll want to do is going to be taking care of inflation and hedging against that.
Well, it is important. I felt rich last week. My grocery store had eggs on sale for $2.80. So I have currency of eggs. So if you need some, let me know. But it is important to think about the inflation hedge especially with women living longer. Ashley, when helping women plan for a longer retirement, what key lifestyle factors should advisors be discussing beyond just financials? You mean it's more about retiring in place and we're living longer, but we also want to have the life we've always dreamed of. How do you do that?
Absolutely. And as I was telling you before, I recently just got back from hosting our Women in Wealth Summit last week in Santa Monica, where we actually had 80 advisors in a room, and we started talking about health span, expanding upon our conversation earlier today. And we had a conversation around how healthy habits are actually part of the financial planning conversation. So many advisors in the room are asking about the daily habits that she has to inform levels of spending. They're also asking questions around how they're taking care of themselves and actually sharing some of the data points that we talked about earlier, and also coupling that with how healthy living can help reduce those healthcare costs over time. So that's been the main entry point into the conversations for advisors. That way it becomes part of that broader financial planning conversation. A big key consideration is as we continue to age, our sense of purpose are going to evolve over time. If we've worked a really long-term career and we're deciding to take a step back or think about what our new sense of purpose is going to look like, that's a great way for an advisor to continue to add value, whether it's helping her think about all of the different causes that matter most to her, the ways that she can apply some of those skills from work to something else that she finds fulfilling through retirement. We see a lot of advisors checking in around sense of community as well, because if you have that broader sense of community, that really helps you as you age. So even creating events where they can bring together their clients who are nearing retirement, in retirement right now, to meet one another, have this sense of community. But we also see advisors having thoughtful conversations around the specific experiences that she wants to have through retirement. So we've actually developed a chart exercise, which I can explain very briefly, where we have a list of potential experiences that she may want to think about, trips that she wants to take, spending time with loved ones, getting an RV, traveling the world, donating back to the charitable causes that matter most. So we developed this whole list of potential examples to get people's ideas flowing. And then we have a chart where we actually look at timing. So do we want to have these experiences sooner versus later? And we have those in 2 buckets on the top. And then financially, do those different items cost more or less? So more money or less money? So that's been a great way for people to actually think about those experiences, to start bucketing them into different categories, and then actually asking questions around, can we do any of these experiences before the transition of retirement even happens? That way, you're continuing to help her prioritize what she finds most important in her life. So those are some examples around that conversation of sense of purpose. Of course, living arrangements is a huge part of the conversation. We even see advisors getting really creative around the centers of influence that they're engaging to really help around the conversation. So one unique one that I heard of recently is an advisor actually brings on experts to consult their clients on home renovations to have a more friendly living environment in their home as they age. And of course, legacy planning, I'd say, is the last bucket in all of this. So asking really thoughtful questions around how do you want to be remembered? A personal favorite of mine that's a little different is if you knew you were going to die tomorrow, would you want to bounce a check or leave a legacy? And it's interesting when you start to actually think through that spending aspect, how important is legacy planning to her too, and not making an assumption around that too. So those are some takeaways from our recent conversations around how people are helping them think about lifestyle through retirement.
I love the questions because in my research and helping female clients, the number one concern has been, I don't feel like I'm heard and I want to be educated and part of the plan. So you are really diving in and giving that sense and truly that environment, a safe environment for female clients to connect with their advisor, regardless of a female advisor or a male advisor. So I applaud you for your um, information and the questionnaire that you have. So that's amazing. I'm going to flip it now to Tiya because with women living longer, insurance products really are a great opportunity to help with that longevity risk. So Tiya, from an insurance standpoint, I know you guys have great products both on the life side with the critical care benefits or the living benefits, as well as on your annuity products. What is the biggest risk or what are the biggest risks you're seeing from your research from the insurance side with women living longer?
There's actually 3 risks that I have found. Before I dive into those, though, Ashley, I did make a note here of the experiences that you were talking about in the sooner versus later. And I just want to let everyone know that I put purchasing high heels in both the sooner and the later. I mean, because let's
Love
start
that.
planning now, okay? We're doing it now. But when it comes to the 3 risks, for me, it's something that I had touched on earlier. The more is more when it comes to saving, but funding your retirement planning. And so it's the running out of money is going to be the first risk. It's also missing out or the loss of your spousal benefits and their income. And then the third thing, it's going to be the decline of your purchasing power. And when we think about those things and what we want to do to protect ourselves with annuities and life insurance and different things that we can set up, and there's so many different products and options that we can choose from between equity investments and things like that. But for me, when we're taking a look at earning the paycheck versus taking the paycheck, meaning when we're earning that paycheck in pre-retirement, that we know the funds are coming in and there's an opportunity if we want to earn more, we can. When we flip from working to retirement, we're now on a fixed income. We're not earning the paycheck, but we're taking a paycheck. And that paycheck can come from Social Security. It can come from life insurance. It can come from annuities. There's a lot of different places, pensions, different things that paycheck can be taken. But when you're on a fixed income, when you have different costs and things that come out of nowhere, or even the things that you're planning for, talking about the purchasing power decline, when you're on a fixed income and you need to replace your roof, that's going to be a little bit different than it was when you were currently working. And so just considering different things like that when it comes to those risks and the longevity that we all know that we're going to experience and being able to protect ourselves from those 3 different things.
I really love that. And just for the live studio audience, Tiya wears phenomenal shoes, high heels, and she can run in them. So don't mess with her. And I always joke about when I am older and I'm in a nursing home in the memory care, I'm going to have the best hot pink running shoes and I'm going to think that I am running a marathon. So thank you for reminding me to have my running shoe money set aside. But I love how you explain the 3 different risks because those are affecting us. And one thing that you said, Tiya, that stood out to me was going from an active paycheck to a passive paycheck. Lisa Shanae, I know, does this very well. She's one of our advisors on this call, but she and Leonard talk about giving people permission to spend their money. And it's so important that you're hitting on that because sometimes people don't want to spend their money because they have a fear, they have an insecurity or a scarcity mindset. So we as advisors and trusted advisors to either the advisors we're working with or the clients, we need to make sure that they have permission to spend their money with a well thought through financial plan. So that's so important. So thank you for sharing that. Now, Ashley, what investment strategies do you recommend to help women maintain flexibility and security for a long and hopefully enjoyable retirement?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no one size fits all investment solution because as we're engaging in this conversation today, different investors have different goals and risk tolerances. I'm a size 4 shoe, so unfortunately, Tiya, shoes are not top of my list because there's not very many shoes that come in my size to begin with. But there's other things that I'm going to prioritize, right? Maybe traveling the world. My husband and I love to go on 2-week trips now, and we probably want to continue that into retirement. And thinking about how I love staying in my home. So potentially that's an option that I'd want to have. So we often say that the best investment plan is one a person can stick with. And this really underscores the value that you all bring as financial advisors, as you all work side by side with your clients to truly help them understand their goals and think through that broader asset allocation. Just talking a little bit around investment philosophy. At Dimensional, we do have one investment philosophy that spans across all of the solutions that we offer. And I like to think of it as the best of both active and passive investing. And that philosophy really starts with the power of the markets. Each day, the global financial markets process millions of trades between buyers and sellers, and these trades incorporate information into prices. And at Dimensional, we are still trying to beat the market, but we're not going to do it by picking the winning stock of the day. Instead, we have that faith in market prices, and we're going to use those prices to look for areas of the market that, over the long run, tend to have higher expected returns and overweight those areas while still having a broadly diversified portfolio. And there's also things that we do every single day to add value through our implementation process by using a very flexible approach to buy and sell securities. So we have collaborated with C2P to build wealth models, and they were constructed to bring our very best thinking into these live portfolios. And these wealth models hold underlying mutual funds or ETFs to meet those investors' goals. So thinking about how you choose that allocation, advisors are first and foremost thinking about the investor's goals, which can range from preservation of capital to growth of wealth to help achieve some of these things we're talking about. And this can help you think through the fixed income or equity allocation, what you allocate to each. And there are several different options depending on their specific goals. And then secondly, we also offer a separately managed account or SMA platform for C2P. And this account holds individual securities that an investor directly owns. And there can be many advantages to this, but to highlight 2 common use cases that we see in the community, if you're working with a professional breadwinning woman where a large portion of their income is through an individual company stock, an SMA can be useful in making sure that you don't buy more of that individual name or industry, and also over time can help reduce the exposure of that concentrated stock. And another example, if you're working with a woman who's thinking about legacy and is very charitably inclined, because she owns the underlying securities, she can potentially gift those highly appreciated stock positions to causes that matter most to her. So, of course, if you want to learn more about our offerings, actually, one of my colleagues, Rhea, is on the line. So she is your direct Dimensional representative, always happy to have additional conversations and help you think about what makes sense for your specific client needs. We are going to be offering a webcast on May 27th with Casey Walsh, who is one of our product specialists around SMAs, and we'd love to have you join. And we also are going to be at MMC later this year. So we're excited to meet with you in person and help you think about how all of these themes can specifically apply with the clients that you're working with.
Yes, and definitely reach out to Rhea. She is a wealth of knowledge and a great partner to C2P. So don't be shy. She loves the questions, and we look forward to having Dimensional at MMC in June. Now, Tiya, when we're looking at the long-term picture for women, I know that your company, F&G, you don't necessarily have a long-term care product, but you've got great products that can help with long-term planning for caregiver needs or for the caregiver, as well as the owner annuitant of the life insurance policy or annuity. How should advisors engage or guide conversations when it comes to the long-term care planning and leveraging some of your great products when people get concerned about, well, what if I need my money? How do you help advisors guide that conversation?
This is a massive question.
I'm sorry. I gave you a snowball question, but I know if anybody can rise up and answer it, it's you.
I gotcha. I got this. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to start this part out because it's such a massive topic with a statistic. So I'm going to ask a question, right? Kirsten and Ashley, when it comes to nursing home residents and the percentage of those that are women, do you think it's 50%, 60%, or 70%?
70.
I'm going to go 72.
You know what? The great thing about being a woman is that we're always right. And real ladies are absolutely correct. 70% of nursing home residents are women. And so for me, when it comes to what we're doing here, and again, more is more, now we're going to do it in layers because we need financial protection, but we need financial independence too. And all of us on here, independent, I'm sure all of our pictures would be listed under that if you were to pull it up in the dictionary. But we don't want that to stop when we flip into retirement. And so for me, when I'm thinking of the layers here where we need to have that financial protection while having our financial independence, actually, you had stated before, if something happens, you'd like to be at home. I think that's the wish of all of us, including for you all tuning in, your clients. That would be one of their wishes where they want to be comfortable, they want to be at home, they want to be with their families. And for me, when we're taking a look at those costs and different products that you can place in there, you've got annuities that can help, long-term care insurance that can help, disability insurance that can help. There's so many different layers to where those payments coming in can take care of those costs. Now, not to shameless plug too hard, but listen, a gal's got to take her opportunities here. But at Fidelity and Guarantee, when it comes to those additional layers, for all of our annuities, we actually have, if you have terminal illness, home health care needs, nursing home needs, you can have immediate access to 100% of your accumulation value. That's pretty fantastic. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. And so knowing that you've got that layer in there, when you're thinking of all of those costs that could be coming in, I think in addition to that, for our products, if you're taking income, that if you can't perform 2 out of 6 ADLs, which can happen while you're at home, it could happen while you're in nursing home care, but we are going to double your payment until the cash value goes to zero. The reason why this is really important, and I know I'm speaking generally here, but for other annuity products out there, that they do have the 2 out of 6 ADL multiplier or doubling feature, but it's for a max of 5 years. And that's just how things are built in our industry. I always kind of thought, that's interesting. It's not like these costs end after a 5-year period of time. That'd be wonderful if they did. But knowing that those products, those are still great that do that. But what about layering that with our products where that double payment keeps on going until you deplete the cash value to zero? And it's like the extension of that layer. So again, when it comes to those types of conversations, knowing that we're living longer, knowing that the percentage is so high of nursing home residents, for example, that are female, thinking about what do you need to do when it comes to not just the financial protection, but the financial independence of it all.
I love that, Tiya, because really at the end of the day, it's about aging in place. My mom is in assisted living, and my mom and dad were in there together. My dad's biggest complaint was, where are the men? Well, the truth is more women are going into the assisted living and the nursing home aspect of things because they've already taken care of their husbands. And when we're thinking about aging in place, it's scary to think about going into a nursing home. My parents' generation remember my grandfather in the nursing home where it was sterile and cold, and they never wanted that experience. It has changed, but being able to give our clients that peace of mind that they can be at home around people they love in a place that they're comfortable, it gives them dignity when they're aging in place. So it's so powerful. And I might get emotional because I'm thinking about my mom and my parents, but it's so important to have those conversations because my parents didn't want to have those with me when I was in the field. So I love the fact that both you and Ashley encourage your advisors to start the conversation, even if it feels a little awkward. Because when women do outlive their husbands, who's going to take care of them? So getting the right plan in place is so important. And I saw Tammy Taylor at Hammer Financial. She is an expert at long-term care and helping women feel comfortable and confident adding this into their financial plan. So it's a great topic to talk about. So Ashley, I'm going to switch it back over to the investment side of things. How can advisors better align investment strategies with the lifestyle goals women have? I mean, I want to run a marathon when I'm 80. It's probably not going to happen. But whether it's travel, entrepreneurship later in life, or something else, how do you help women with that?
Yeah, I'd say asking great questions is the best way to uncover what matters most. We've been actually asking our 4,000 global advisor community, uh, what are your favorite questions to ask in meetings to uncover what matters most to her? We've been organizing all of these questions into 8 different buckets around money and life experiences, time, financial security, elements of career, family, spending. And it's interesting because when you start to dive into a lot of these different buckets, there's so many questions that I love. I can share a few of my favorites for each of them. For money and life experiences, if you had all of the money in the world, what would you dream to do differently? Helps people think really big picture, and if there were no constraints, what the priorities are today. I know, Kirsten, we were talking about how in conversation circles, we often ask the question, what is your earliest money memory? Many of the lessons that we learn around money early in our lives really impact the way that we view money today. So actually starting to dig in around those early experiences with money, the lessons that we learned from family along the way, all of that informs our current beliefs. So diving into those early money memories or early lessons, what money means to us can truly inform any changes that we want to make, or even if there's questions around mindset or transitions that need to occur, it can help lend some perspective around how they're going to handle or navigate those transitions. For time, what can we do today so that your future self can thank you? It starts to put the emphasis on future self, which I think is so powerful and shows that they have the onus to do what they want in the future too. For financial security, tell me about a time when there was turmoil in the financial markets. How did you handle it? I think that informs a lot around risk tolerance. And when thinking about that equity versus fixed income allocation can be helpful information for you to have too. For career, if they're currently still working, this is pre-retirement, what fulfillment do you want for your career? A personal favorite, when do you want work to be optional? So you're not actually asking people for a specific retirement date, but more for the option to evaluate at that period of time if they then wanted to take a step back in their career. Of course, family is such a huge theme, right? Who do you love? Do any of them need financial help now or looking forward? It doesn't make any assumptions around certain family members. So it really creates a wider lens around that question and helps around that legacy piece of everything. For spending, tell me something that you recently spent money on that made you feel good. Another favorite, what if money was no object for 5 years? What are you purchasing? So again, starts to emphasize some of those additional aspects around spending that we're talking about. And Tiya, we hear about a concept in the community called bag lady syndrome, where we often see that people are afraid to spend their resources even when they have plenty of it. So actually helping people think through what that spending could look like could be so powerful. And we even have a question around, is there a reason why you're not spending money on yourself? So actually trying to get at the targeted root of what's causing some of that underlying hesitation. We've also done several different client events where we've done interactive portions to help women think about this in groups of peers. So primarily, we see advisors starting their conversation circle journey around the money conversation. So that values discovery, the early money memories, and they are much like what they sound like. You bring together a small group of individuals to reflect, to journal, to share stories with one another. And there's several different tools that we use in the space to create that comfortable environment for sharing. An example is we have a set of agreements for everyone to adhere to so that everyone knows we have confidentiality in the room as well. But we've seen advisors take that and truly go beyond that. So some examples of topics are around what color is your retirement and actually doing that chart exercise we talked about earlier, having conversations about aging, what that actually means to you. What does a good day look like, and actually diving into those themes. Resilience has been huge as well. So thinking about those moments in life where we learned so much from them and we can take those lessons and continue to apply them as we continue to live throughout our lives. And then we even see in circles around how much is enough. So people actually think through the different buckets of their life, such as career, fun, and think through what enough actually means to them in all different aspects of their lives. So it's been really fun to host conversation circles, to work with advisors to host these conversation circles, and I can talk about them all day.
If you are interested in conversation circles, we can provide you with Ashley's information. We did do a 2-day training on it last year, but it's a phenomenal way to understand the money mindset. And I still love that question. What is your first memory of money? Because you're going to learn if they're coming from a place of scarcity or of a place of abundance, and you'll have a better understanding. I've actually helped advisors close some business by taking us back to and through the journey to help them understand what their relationship to money is. So it's so powerful. And Tiya, I mean, you bring a lot of value in what you do. Is there any particular insurance or annuity solutions that you find especially helpful in helping women plan, especially with the longevity risk?
For me, again, what we're going to do is piggyback. So we have the more is more. We have the layers that we need to have in place. But now let's talk about some ladders as well when it comes to the longevity and what you want during those active years. And I know this is a wild direction to take this meeting, but I wanted everyone to know before the meeting started, myself, Kirsten, Ashley, what we were talking about is we were talking about how much we love food. And so I know Ashley and I are going to be swapping recipes, but I'm like, you know what? On LinkedIn, I just posted a video that explains how retirement planning is a lot like building the perfect fried chicken sandwich. And when we think about like the foundation or the base of your retirement plan, mine personally, it's going to be annuities and life insurance. I want that income stream I can't outlive. And I also want to make sure that my loved ones are protected if something happened to me. But in addition to that, let's talk about the layers. Let's talk about the laddering, which are going to be the accoutrements on the fried chicken sandwich, your lettuce, tomato, barbecue sauce, fried onions. The list goes on and I'm getting hungry. But when we're thinking about what you need during your active years, let's take a concept that we're all aware of, which is the go-go, slow-go, and the no-go years. But I think when we think about that from an activity perspective, it's the go, slow go, no go. But that's actually not how those layers of the income or protection that you need. Those layers actually go, slow go, no go, because you need to hedge for what that looks like again. Going from that income you're earning, that paycheck you're earning, to the paycheck that you're taking. And so when it comes to insurance products, but when it comes to long-term care, again, disability insurance, when you're thinking of, okay, if I want to keep my financial independence, I want to be able to be at home. I want to be able to just hedge against some of those fears that I don't really want to spend a lot of time thinking about because I might get worked up. Well, to Ashley's point, if we ask the curious questions now and we figure out, okay, what are those fears? Because guess what? Once you have a solution, that's not something that's going to keep you up at night. So for me, it's again going to the more is more, the layers, and then the ladders when it comes to the income coming in, the products that you have behind the scenes to take care of those fears so you can sleep well at night.
I love this chicken sandwich reference because one, it's almost lunchtime here on the West Coast. But when we can find a way to relate to that client in front of us on a level that they understand, you tend to create a client for life because they feel heard. They feel seen, and they might be a little hungry, but you're giving them a plan that they're a part of. So I love the analogy. I know a lot of our advisors use them as well. We are wrapping up to the last 5 minutes of time together. I've got a couple more questions, but I do have a few questions in from the studio audience. Ashley, are you able to share your list on all your questions that you have? Is that something that we can make shareable when we send the recording out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fabulous. At C2P, with the way we do our planning, we do believe in investments as well as insurance products are part of a well laid out holistic financial plan. Do you guys want to share with us like how you also see working with multiple products can help women have a better longevity and lifestyle plan? I'll start with whoever wants to go first.
Okay, for me, to keep the interest of time here, let's talk about the 60-40 portfolio theory. 60% in equities, 40% in bonds. And so for me, when you're thinking of the equities or you're thinking about those investments that are out there in the market, that bouncy ball, and then you've got your bonds, or you can even think of fixed indexed annuities with a premium protection. That's the pillow, that's the cushion. And what that's going to do is just create that beautiful offset to where you've got that larger exposure to positive market performance. We're all looking for that. But then you also have that baseline protection, that pillow of bonds or fixed indexed annuities and different things like that. So for me, I feel like being diversified, whether it's the market, whether it's annuities, is absolutely fantastic. I think that there's definitely a reason that the 60-40 theory has been around for so long. And I know as we get older, those percentages are probably going to change because now we're getting more into the financial protection mode where we don't want that market exposure. But yeah, I think both just work beautifully together.
Thank you. Ashley, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I'd just say identifying what the specific needs and goals are is first and foremost, and then you can decide how you're going to fund each of those needs, right? So we see a lot of advisors mitigating risks through insurance, whether that's thinking through elements of those long-term care costs, disability insurance if they're in the working years and they need to protect that income, life insurance products as well. And then thinking about those long-term goals around a specific lifestyle that she may want to achieve, whether that's funding a new business or traveling the world, retiring, investing can be a great way to meet those goals. So advisors in the community have presenting various scenarios to help her identify the different trade-offs for different options for each of the specific needs to help their clients really decide what makes the most sense for them and how they should fund each of those specific goals.
Thank you. And as we're wrapping up, I've got one question that I just feel is really important to ask because I love asking this question of all of our guests. What would you say, Ashley, Tiya, what's the one last piece of advice or the best piece of advice do you give advisors to better support women in their retirement journey? Is there anything that you would like to leave with our live studio audience today?
I can kick us off. I'd say start the conversations nice and early with your clients. Preparing before the transitions occur can really just help for a seamless transition. And asking great questions and listening is a great way to make sure that we're focusing on what matters most to her.
Fabulous. And Tiya?
Yeah, I'll do a 2-for-1. How about that? Ooh.
Love
So
it.
for me, exactly what Ashley was talking about. It's the honest conversation. Let's make them multi-generational. And then the second part to that is the personal storytelling. When we're thinking about us all having these conversations, because we talk about this stuff day in and day out, it's not like it doesn't tug on our heartstrings, but it's completely different. It's work for us. But when we're thinking of those families coming in and you're educating them and they're relying on you, they don't even know where to start having these conversations. So what if your office was the meeting place for the matriarch and the patriarch of the family to bring in their adult children to actually have the conversation? You can be the mediator. When those adult children see how well you're taking care of their parents and how you're the one steering the conversation, they're probably going to want to start utilizing you, but then they have a person to call when they want to make sure that their parents are protected as well. Keep in mind, these adult children, they're the sandwich generation, so they have the cost of taking care of their adult kids that have changed their major 5 times. They don't want to also have the additional cost of taking care of their parents. They want to be prepared if that's necessary, but they're probably going to want to consult with you to make sure that those things are taken care of. And the last thing is storytelling. Kirsten, how powerful and vulnerable of you to be able to share that story when it came to your mom earlier. And being able to state things like that and meet people where they are, you don't know what their full stories are or what they've experienced or gone through. So with you doing your own storytelling, meeting them where they are, saying, you know what, I went through this, and here's one thing I wish I did differently, or here's one thing that I'm thrilled that I did because none of us anticipated this. What a fantastic way to bridge the connection between you and your clients. So yes, it would be that multi-generational conversation. Make your office the meeting place, but then also your own personal storytelling.
Thank you, Tiya. I do think that's super important and relatable because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when we're going to experience somebody that we love needing to be taken care of. So thank you for sharing that. Ashley, Tiya, the two of you are just amazing. I love the fact that you took your time out with us to share your story and this great information. So thank you so much for joining us. And everybody in the studio audience, thank you for being here. Again, as I said at the front of the conversation today, when you give us your time that you usually give to your clients, it means the world to us. Please reach out if you've got any questions. If there's any topics you'd like us to cover here at A Woman's Clarity, don't be shy. Bring them to our attention. Your needs, helping advisors, helping clients, female clients, is our destination. So please don't be shy. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for tuning in to the Bucket Plan on Demand, brought to you by C2P, an organization whose purpose is to educate, train, grow, and support holistic financial advisors so families can achieve true prosperity. Subscribe today for the latest episodes and insights. Visit c2penterprises.com to learn how we can help support and enhance your advisory business. At the time of delivery and any subsequent publishing, information was deemed reliable, but is subject to change by the time of listening or viewing. The contents of this piece include options and protections of C2P, are subject to change, and are for informational purposes only. The information provided in this presentation is not intended to be individual investment, tax, or legal advice.